Welcome to Monk's Temple. Let us begin exactly where you are. Not where you think you should be. Not where you hope to be when this teaching is complete. Not where your neighbor is, your teacher is, or where the enlightened beings reside in your imagination. Here. This breath. This body. This moment, carrying whatever weight it is carrying today. There is a fatigue that does not come from physical labor. You know this fatigue. It is the exhaustion of carrying an invisible suitcase. You have been carrying it for years. You did not choose to pack it. It was packed for you slowly, by a culture that told you happiness is a destination, that you are incomplete, that something vital is missing and must be acquired. So you have been acquiring. You have acquired knowledge, possessions, relationships, credentials, spiritual experiences. You have stacked them inside the suitcase. And still, the suitcase is not full. Still, you are carrying it. Still, you are waiting to arrive. What if arrival is not a place? What if it happens now, or never? This is the first question the Buddha asks of you. Not because the answer is complicated. Because the answer requires you to stop treating your life as a rehearsal. There is a room inside the modern mind. I call it the waiting room. You are sitting there now. The chairs are uncomfortable. The magazines are outdated. Someone is supposed to call your name soon. A doctor. A guru. A future self who has finally figured everything out. So you wait. You wait for the right conditions to meditate. You wait for work to settle. You wait for the children to leave. You wait for retirement. You wait for the trauma to heal. You wait for the weather to improve. And waiting becomes a posture. A way of ensuring you never have to show up fully, because showing up would require admitting that this, right here, is actually your life. Not the rehearsal. Not the warm-up. This is the final version. The Buddha did not teach the Noble Eightfold Path to people casually interested in self-improvement. He taught it to people who had realized their strategy for happiness was bankrupt. They had invested everything in chasing pleasure and avoiding pain. They were still suffering. The path is not another item to add to your suitcase. The path is setting the suitcase down. I once knew a woman named Elena. Elena had collected spiritual experiences like stamps. She had sat in caves in the Himalayas. Received transmissions in the Amazon. Completed 20-day silent retreats, 10-day Vipassana courses, Tantra workshops, Zoom satsangs. Her bookshelf was a museum of enlightenment. Her vocabulary overflowed with Sanskrit and Pali. She came to a teacher I know, desperate. Not curious. Desperate. She said she had done everything. Sat through excruciating knee pain. Confronted her darkest emotions. Forgiven her father, her mother, her ex-husband, herself. And still, at night, when the lights went out, a voice whispered, "You are not enough." Elena believed the voice was the problem. If she could just find the right practice, the right teacher, the right initiation, the voice would finally shut up. But the voice was not the problem. The voice was the symptom. The disease was her belief that she needed to become someone else to be worthy of her own life. The teacher did not give her a new technique. He did not recommend a book. He did not validate her suffering or console her. He said, Elena, when the voice speaks, do not argue. Do not try to silence it. Do not analyze its origin. Simply listen to your own breathing. That is enough. You have always been enough. The seeking is the avoidance. Elena wept. Not because she understood. Because she realized she had been using spirituality to escape the unbearable ordinariness of being human. The suitcase was heavy. But she was afraid to set it down. If she set it down, who would she be? There is an ancient teaching, preserved for over 2,000 years, that speaks directly to Elena's condition, and to yours. A man named Janussanan was skeptical of the Buddha. He had encountered dozens of gurus. Each claimed enlightenment. Each attracted followers. How could he know which was real? His friend told him a story. An elephant hunter enters the forest. He sees a massive footprint. He concludes a great bull elephant lives here. But a skilled hunter knows better. A footprint is evidence, not proof. A female can leave a large print. A younger elephant can leave a deceptive track. The hunter follows the footprints deeper. Scratch marks on trees. Broken branches. Droppings. Still, he does not celebrate. He continues until he sees the great bull standing in the clearing. This is the Buddha's methodology. Not faith. Not blind devotion. Radical empiricism. You do not believe because someone told you. You believe because you followed the tracks yourself, through the dense underbrush of your own mind, and arrived at direct contact with reality. Janussanan was not converted by a miracle or an argument. He was convinced by the description of a man who had walked the path to its end. That description is available to you. But you must be willing to enter the forest. I want to speak to the part of you still sitting in the waiting room. The part analyzing this teaching instead of receiving it. Wondering how long this video is. Whether this will actually help. The part that has been disappointed before and refuses to be disappointed again. I honor that part. It has protected you. Kept you safe from false prophets. Prevented you from giving yourself away to things that would exploit your vulnerability. But that part does not need to be in charge right now. For the next hours, however long we walk together, you can set down the vigilance. Stop analyzing. Simply listen, the way you listened to bedtime stories as a child, before stories had to justify their existence. The story of the elephant is not a puzzle to solve. It is an invitation to walk. If something in this telling has stirred recognition, if you have felt, even briefly, the exhaustion of your own suitcase, I invite you to subscribe to Monk's Temple. Not because I need numbers. Not because this channel competes for attention. Subscribing is a small, symbolic act of setting down the map and committing to the walk. You are not alone in this forest. Others walk alongside you, invisible among the trees. The subscription is a quiet acknowledgement, I am walking. I am willing to continue. The button is below. Press it, if it feels true. And let us walk together. Before we continue, take a breath. Not a special breath. Not a meditation breath. Just the breath your body is already taking. Feel the air enter. Feel it leave. Notice you did not need to control it. Notice you are still here. This breath is the footprint. Not the elephant. But without this breath, you cannot follow the tracks. So let us honor it. Let it be our compass. There is a Pali word, dukkha. It is often translated as suffering. This is accurate but incomplete. Dukkha is not just agony or trauma. It is the dull background hum of dissatisfaction that accompanies most ordinary moments. You know this hum. It is the gap between what you expected and what arrived. The vacation that was lovely but slightly disappointing. The promotion that felt empty 3 weeks later. The meal you anticipated all day, finished in 4 minutes, leaving you already thinking about the next meal. Dukkha is not life's exception. It is life's wallpaper. The Buddha did not teach this to depress you. He taught it because you cannot cure a disease you refuse to diagnose. If you believe the wallpaper is a beautiful mural, you will never investigate why you feel suffocated in this room. The first noble truth is not pessimism. It is the correction of vision. You have been misreading your own experience. I once watched a glassblower at work. She heated molten glass on a steel pipe. She blew gently, and the glass expanded like a lung. She added cobalt blue, a shard of ruby. She swung the pipe in a wide arc, opening the vessel wider. I asked what the most difficult skill was to learn. She said, knowing when to stop. Beginners are terrified the glass will collapse. So they keep moving. Keep blowing. Keep shaping. They cannot trust the vessel is already complete. They add one more color, one more curve. And the glass, exhausted by their attention, finally gives way. The glass does not need more, she said. It needs less. But the beginner mistakes motion for progress. Silence feels like failure. This is dukkha. You have been adding to the vessel your entire life. More achievements. More possessions. More spiritual experiences. You believe the vessel is incomplete. You believe that with sufficient effort, you will finally hold the perfect object. But the vessel was complete the moment it was formed. You are not adding to it. You are weakening it. The Buddha called this the second arrow. An enemy shoots an arrow into your shoulder. The pain is immediate, undeniable. This is the first arrow. It is unavoidable. Bodies age. Loved ones depart. Plans fail. Then you shoot yourself with a second arrow. You think, I should not have been here. Why does this always happen to me? If only I were stronger, smarter, more deserving. The second arrow is not the event. It is your commentary on the event. The first arrow is pain. The second arrow is suffering. Pain is inevitable. It is the price of having a nervous system. But suffering, the layering of story, judgment, and resistance onto the pain, is optional. The Buddha did not promise to remove the first arrow. He promised to show you how to stop shooting yourself with the second. I knew a man named Richard. Successful by every external measure. Married. Children. Pension. Health. Sharp mind. And Richard was miserable. Not dramatically miserable. Quietly, persistently, almost imperceptibly miserable. Like a room slightly too cold. Like a shoe with a small pebble inside it. Richard spent his life waiting for the pebble to disappear. He believed happiness was an object he had not yet located. Hidden behind the next achievement, the next purchase, the next retirement. He lived in the gap between now and later. One day, his wife asked, "Richard, if you woke up tomorrow and everything was exactly the same, your body, your house, your routine, and you were told this is all you will ever have for the rest of your life, would that be enough?" Richard opened his mouth. Then he closed it. He realized his entire life was built on the premise that later would be better than now. If later never arrived, if this was it, he had spent decades running from a moment he never learned to inhabit. He sat in silence for a long time. That silence was the beginning of his path. Remember Elena and her suitcase. She carried hers across continents, filling it with techniques and initiations. Richard carried his across decades, filling it with future satisfactions. You carry yours across hours and days, filling it with distractions, worries, hopes, and regrets. The suitcase is not your enemy. The suitcase is your teacher. Its weight is feedback. Every sigh of exhaustion, every vague sense that something is wrong even when nothing is wrong. This is the suitcase communicating. It is saying, "Set me down. Not tomorrow. Not after one more book, one more video, one more retreat. Now." The path does not begin when the suitcase is empty. The path begins when you stop believing carrying it is necessary. The elephant hunter does not run blindly through the forest. He walks slowly, deliberately, examining each piece of evidence. A footprint here. A scratch mark there. He does not judge. He observes and continues. Your breath is the footprint. It is always here. Always leaving fresh tracks in the present moment. You do not need to search for it. You do not need to travel to India or sit in a cave. The breath is breathing itself right now, beneath your attention, waiting for you to notice. The elephant is not in the breath. But the breath is the track that leads you deeper into the forest, away from the waiting room, away from the second arrow, away from the suitcase you have been carrying since childhood. Follow it. Not with effort. Not with grasping. Follow it the way you follow rain on a roof. Without needing the rain to be anything other than what it is. We have diagnosed the wallpaper. We have distinguished the first arrow from the second. We have met Richard. We have returned to the breath. Now, pause. Not to analyze. Not to evaluate. Simply to sit with the weight of your own suitcase. To admit you have been carrying it. To notice the carrying is exhausting. You do not need to set it down yet. You only need to admit you are holding it. That admission is the second footprint. Before we speak of maps, rest here. Feel the breath moving through you. Not as a technique. Not as an exercise. Just the simple fact of your aliveness. The breath does not need to be improved. It only needs to be breathed. You are breathing it now. This is enough. The Buddha told a story about a man and a raft. A traveler comes to a vast body of water. The near shore is dangerous. The far shore is safe. But there is no bridge, no boat. So he gathers grass, branches, leaves, and binds them into a raft. He paddles with his hands and feet and crosses to the other side. Now he stands on solid ground, holding the raft above his head. What should he do with it? The answer is obvious. Set it down. The raft served its purpose. Carrying it further is a burden. It prevents him from walking freely on the ground he worked so hard to reach. The Dharma is a raft, the Buddha said. It is for crossing over, not for holding on to. This is right view. Not the accumulation of beliefs. Not the construction of a perfect philosophy. Right view is knowing when to use the raft and when to set it down. We have become experts at holding the raft above our heads. We collect teachings. We defend doctrines. We mistake the description of the far shore for the shore itself. We stand on solid ground, sweating under the weight of the vessel that carried us here. But the far shore is not a place you leave. The far shore is a way of seeing where you already stand. I once knew a man named Arthur. Arthur was a scholar of religion. He had memorized the Pali Canon. He could recite the Heart Sutra in Sanskrit. He had written 3 books on Buddhist philosophy. Universities invited him to speak. Students revered him. Arthur came to a teacher I know. He did not come for guidance. He came to debate. He spent an hour demonstrating his mastery. He quoted Nagarjuna. He critiqued modern translations. He was brilliant. He was also, unmistakably, suffering. The teacher listened. When Arthur finished, the teacher said, "You have spent 40 years drawing maps of a country you have never visited. You know the names of the rivers. You know the elevation of the mountains. But you have never felt the rain on your face. You have never slept on the soil." Arthur was silent. The teacher said, "The menu is not the meal. You have been studying ingredients and wondering why you are still hungry." Arthur left. 6 months later, he wrote a letter. He had begun sitting each morning. Not studying. Not analyzing. Just sitting. He said the silence was terrifying at first. He said he had never realized how loud his own mind was. He said enlightenment is not something you learn. It is something you unlearn. Right view is the first factor of the Noble Eightfold Path. This makes it sound like a prerequisite. Something you must acquire before you can proceed. But this is a misunderstanding. Right view is not a belief you hold. It is a posture you assume. It is the willingness to remain curious in the face of uncertainty. It is the courage to admit you do not know, and to continue seeking anyway. The modern mind despises not knowing. We treat uncertainty as a problem to be solved. We fill the gaps with opinions, ideologies, certainties. We would rather be wrong than confused. We would rather have a false map than no map at all. Right view is the radical act of tolerating the blank space. It is the recognition that the map is not the territory, that the menu is not the meal, that the finger pointing at the moon is not the moon itself. You can follow the finger. But eventually, you must look up. There is a man who loses his glasses. He searches everywhere. Under cushions. On countertops. In coat pockets. He grows frustrated. He asks his partner for help. They search together. The kitchen. The car. The office. Finally, exhausted, he sits on the edge of the bed. His partner looks at him and laughs. "They've been on your face the whole time." He reaches up. There they are, resting on the bridge of his nose. He has been looking through them all along, searching for something that was already doing the searching. This is the comedy of the spiritual search. You are looking for enlightenment with the mind that is already capable of awakening. You are seeking peace through activities that perpetuate unrest. You are treating the path as a journey toward a destination you have never actually left. Right view is the hand reaching up to touch the glasses. It is the recognition that what you seek is not in front of you. It is behind the seeking. It is the seeker itself, before it divided into subject and object, before it imagined itself lost. You have been holding the raft for a long time. Perhaps you inherited it. Perhaps you built it yourself, carefully, laboriously, believing it would carry you to safety. It has carried you. You are here. But here is not the far shore. Here is not the near shore. Here is the river itself, always flowing, always changing. The raft cannot save you from the water. The water is not your enemy. You are not crossing to anywhere else. You are learning to swim. Right view is the moment you release the raft and feel the current beneath your body. It is terrifying. It is also the first time you realize you were never truly sinking. The water holds you. It has always held you. The elephant hunter continues through the forest. He has seen the first footprint. He has seen the second. The trees grow denser. The light filters differently here. He does not know how much further he must walk. He does not know if he will recognize the elephant when he sees it. But he knows he cannot stop. Not because stopping is forbidden. Not because he is afraid. He cannot stop because he has realized something essential: the forest is not separate from him. He is not a visitor here. Every footprint he follows is his own. We have met Arthur, the scholar who mistook the menu for the meal. We have seen the man searching for the glasses on his own face. We have touched the edge of right view. You do not need to understand this completely. You only need to consider the possibility that you have been holding the raft above your head, waiting for permission to set it down. The permission is not coming from outside. It never was. Rest here, at the edge of this new territory. Feel the breath move through you. Not as a task. Not as a test. Just as the quiet rhythm of being alive. The breath asks nothing of you. It only offers itself, again and again, without condition. You are breathing it now. This is enough. We have carried the raft. We have studied the map. We have searched for glasses resting on our own face. Now we arrive at the question most seekers avoid. What do I actually need to change? Not what should I believe. Not what should I study. What must I actually, practically, tangibly do differently when I walk out of this room and return to my life? The Buddha answered this question with extraordinary precision. He called it right speech, right action, right livelihood. We call it ethics. This is unfortunate. The word ethics sounds like a rulebook. It sounds like someone telling you what you cannot do. It sounds like constraint, limitation, the narrowing of life's wild possibilities. But the Buddha was not a moralist. He was a physician. He did not say, "Do not lie because lying is wrong." He said, "Observe what happens when you lie. Observe the contraction in the chest. Observe the vigilance required to maintain the fiction. Observe how you must remember who you pretended to be, and to whom, and when. Observe the exhaustion." Then he said, "Now observe what happens when you speak truth. Observe the ease. Observe the absence of surveillance. Observe the freedom. The precepts are not judgments. They are instructions for an experiment. You are the laboratory. I knew a woman named Claire. Claire was a caretaker. She cared for her aging mother, her demanding children, her exhausted husband. She cared for colleagues who took credit for her work. She cared for friends who called only when they needed something. Claire was praised for her kindness. She was admired for her patience. But Claire was drowning. She came to a teacher I know. She said she did not understand why she was so tired. She was doing everything right. She was being good. Why was goodness so heavy? The teacher asked, "When did you last say no?" Claire was silent. The teacher asked, "When did you last tell someone that you were struggling, that you needed help, that you could not carry one more thing?" Claire was still silent. The teacher said, "You believe kindness is the absence of refusal. But kindness without boundaries is not kindness. It is self-abandonment. You have been setting yourself on fire to keep others warm. And you are surprised that you are burning." Claire wept. Not because she was scolded. Because she was seen. Right speech is not only what you say. It is what you stop pretending. It is the truth of your exhaustion, spoken gently, without apology. It is the small, terrifying sentence, "I cannot. I need. I am struggling." Claire began practicing this sentence. It did not destroy her relationships. It transformed them. She discovered that people could carry their own weight. She discovered that her value was not contingent on her utility. She discovered that the rope she believed was holding others up was actually the rope holding her down. Right action follows the same logic. We imagine the precepts as prohibitions. Do not kill. Do not steal. Do not engage in sexual misconduct. Do not take intoxicants. But the Buddha was not policing behavior. He was diagnosing suffering. Watch what happens when you take what is not given. Not just objects, attention, credit, time, affection. Watch the mind that grasps. Watch the fear beneath the grasping. The belief that there is not enough. That you are not enough. That you must take now, before it disappears. Now watch what happens when you receive what is offered freely. Watch the mind that waits. Watch the trust beneath the waiting. The recognition that enoughness is not a quantity. It is a quality of attention. The precept is not, do not steal. The precept is, investigate the panic that makes you believe you must. I knew a man named Marcus. Marcus was always late. Not by minutes, by hours. He missed deadlines. He forgot appointments. He apologized profusely and meant it, sincerely, every time. He believed he had a time management problem. He came to a teacher I know. He wanted techniques. Calendars. Systems. Productivity hacks. The teacher asked, "When someone waits for you, what do you feel?" Marcus hesitated. "Guilt," he said. And before the guilt, Marcus was quiet. Then he said, "Power." The teacher nodded. "You are not late because you are disorganized. You are late because lateness gives you the sensation of control. You make others wait. You are the one who decides when things begin. You are stealing time, not because you need it, but because stealing makes you feel real. Marcus did not speak. The teacher said, "You do not need to be powerful. You need to be present. The power you seek is already here, in the moment you arrive exactly when you are expected. No earlier. No later. Just here." Marcus began arriving on time. It felt like dying. It also felt like freedom. Right livelihood extends the experiment further. Not, what job is morally pure? But, what does my work require me to ignore? Every profession has its sanctioned blindness. The advertising executive ignores the manipulation. The stock trader ignores the abstraction of suffering into numbers. The fast food manager ignores the environmental cost. The university administrator ignores the debt carried by students. We are not bad people. We are people who have learned to look away. Right livelihood is not quitting your job tomorrow. It is stopping the looking away. It is allowing yourself to fully see what your daily actions require of the world, and of you. Once you see, you cannot unsee. That is the point. The elephant hunter continues. He has followed the breath. He has examined the raft. He has touched the weight of his own suitcase. Now he encounters something unexpected. The path is not leading him outward. It is leading him inward. The forest is not outside. The forest is his own patterns of grasping, hiding, performing, stealing time, abandoning himself. Every ethical precept is a mirror. He looks at it and sees, for the first time, the face of his own suffering. He does not look away. This is the third footprint. We have met Claire, who mistook self-abandonment for kindness. We have met Marcus, who mistook lateness for power. We have touched the edge of right speech, right action, right livelihood. You do not need to change everything today. You only need to look at one knot. Not to untie it yet. Just to see it clearly. Just to admit that it is there, holding you in place. The seeing is the beginning of the untying. Before we enter the deep forest, pause. Not to prepare. Not to brace yourself. Just to feel the rhythm of your own breathing. The breath is not trying to get anywhere. It is not in a hurry. It arrives, departs, arrives again. It has been doing this since your first moment of life. It will do this until your last. You are breathing it now. This is enough. We have examined the raft. We have touched the knots. We have seen the glasses resting on our own face. Now we arrive at the stage most seekers romanticize and most avoid. Meditation. We have turned meditation into a spa treatment. A stress reduction technique. A way to sleep better, focus longer, stay calmer in traffic. These are legitimate benefits. They are also distractions from meditation's true purpose. Meditation is not a relaxation exercise. Meditation is surgery. You are not lying on the operating table for a nap. You are lying on the operating table to have a tumor removed. The tumor is the belief that you are a separate self, navigating a hostile world, perpetually incomplete, perpetually in danger, perpetually needing to become something else. The scalpel is your attention. The anesthesia is your willingness to stop moving. I knew a man named Daniel. Daniel had attended 17 meditation retreats. He owned 3 meditation cushions. He had a dedicated practice space in his home with a small altar, a singing bowl, and a framed photograph of a teacher he had met once in Nepal. Daniel came to see a teacher I know. He was frustrated. I sit every day, he said. 45 minutes. Sometimes an hour. I've been doing this for 8 years. Why am I not enlightened? The teacher asked, "What are you doing during those 45 minutes?" Daniel described his technique. Counting breaths. Noting thoughts. Returning to the anchor. Disciplining the wandering mind. The teacher listened. Then he said, "You are not meditating. You are wrestling. You have turned meditation into another project. Another performance. Another way to measure your progress and find yourself lacking. You are not sitting with your mind. You are sitting in judgment of your mind. These are different rooms." Daniel was silent. The teacher said, "For 1 month, do not try to achieve anything during your sitting. Do not try to concentrate. Do not try to be mindful. Do not try to relax. Just sit. Let the mind do whatever it does. If it races, let it race. If it sleeps, let it sleep. Do not intervene." Daniel protested. "That's not meditation. That's just sitting." The teacher smiled. Yes. Daniel tried it. The first week was agony. His mind was a crowded marketplace. Without his constant intervention, without his management, without his performance of being a good meditator, he saw what had always been there. The chaos was not new. His control was. The Buddha described 5 visitors who arrive when you stop running. Desire. Aversion. Sloth. Restlessness. Doubt. These are not enemies. They are not signs of failure. They are not obstacles on the path. They are the path, appearing as themselves. Desire arrives. It whispers about what you lack. You do not need to fight it. You do not need to feed it. You only need to recognize it as a visitor, not a resident. Aversion arrives. It points at everything wrong. The uncomfortable cushion. The noisy neighbor. The unfairness of your life. You do not need to argue with it. You only need to see that aversion is a flavor of energy, no more permanent than a cloud. Sloth arrives. The heaviness. The drowsiness. The resistance to effort. You do not need to energize yourself. You only need to stay upright, curious about what it feels like to be heavy. Restlessness arrives. The itch. The urge to move, check, scroll, escape. You do not need to suppress it. You only need to watch it burn without being burned. Doubt arrives. This is not working. You are not capable. The teacher is wrong. The path is false. You do not need to resolve doubt. You only need to doubt your doubt. The elephant hunter does not chase away the animals he encounters in the forest. He notes them. He observes their tracks. He continues. I knew a woman named Priya. Priya had been meditating for 3 years. She reported profound experiences. Bliss. Light. Moments of spacious awareness. She was certain she was making progress. Then the bliss stopped. She sat down one morning and the bliss did not arrive. She sat the next day. Nothing. The next week. Nothing. She began to panic. Had she done something wrong? Was she regressing? Was enlightenment withdrawing its invitation? She came to a teacher I know. She described her crisis. The teacher said, "You have been using meditation as a drug. You like the pleasant states. You became attached to them. Now they have left, and you believe you have failed. But the pleasant states were never the goal. They were footprints." Priya said, "Then what is the goal?" The teacher said, "The willingness to sit in the dark without demanding light." Priya returned to her cushion. She sat in the ordinary, unblissful, unremarkable awareness of her own breathing. She stopped waiting for the fireworks. She discovered that the darkness was not empty. The darkness was full of something she could not name. It was not exciting. It was not peaceful. It was simply present. This was her first genuine contact with meditation. The elephant hunter has left the clearings behind. The trees are denser here. The light is dimmer. He cannot see the sky. He cannot see the path behind him. He cannot see the destination ahead. He has only the next footprint. This is the stage of right effort. Not the effort of striving. Not the effort of becoming. The effort of staying. The effort of remaining present when every instinct screams at you to move, to do, to fix, to escape. Right effort is not pushing harder. Right effort is stopping the escape. We have met Daniel, who mistook wrestling for sitting. We have met Priya, who mistook bliss for progress. We have encountered the 5 visitors who arrive when the running stops. You do not need to have profound experiences. You do not need to calm your mind. You only need to stay in the room with whatever is already here. Not to change it. Not to improve it. Not to understand it. Just to stay. Staying is the practice. Staying is the path. Staying is the footprint that leads you deeper than any technique, any teacher, any state of bliss could ever take you. The elephant is not in the clearing ahead. The elephant is in the staying. Before we speak of unlearning, rest here. Feel the breath moving through you. Not as a practice. Not as a discipline. Just as the quiet evidence that you are still alive, still here, still capable of receiving this teaching. The breath is not trying to become anything. It is not trying to be deeper, calmer, more spiritual. It is simply breathing itself, moment after moment, without ambition. You are breathing it now. This is enough. We have carried the raft. We have touched the knots. We have sat with the 5 visitors in the deep forest. Now we arrive at the stage that cannot be achieved, only surrendered to. Wisdom. Not knowledge. Not belief. Not the accumulation of facts about enlightenment. Wisdom is what remains when you stop adding. It is not something you learn. It is something you remember. It is not a destination you reach. It is a forgetting you undergo. You have spent a lifetime learning how to be a self. You learn to identify with your thoughts. You learn to defend your story. You learn to perform your identity for others, and eventually for yourself. You became very skilled at being this particular person, with this particular history, these particular preferences, this particular name. Wisdom is the unlearning of all that. Not the destruction of the self. Not the annihilation of personhood. The loosening. The recognition that who you are is not contained in the story you have been telling. The story is real. But it is not the whole truth. The finger pointing at the moon is not the moon. Your story pointing at yourself is not you. I once knew a woman named Dr. Chen. She was an archaeologist. She had spent 30 years excavating a single site in the Anatolian highlands. She knew every layer of that soil. She could identify pottery shards from 6 different millennia. She had published 3 monographs and countless papers. Dr. Chen came to a teacher I know. She was nearing retirement. She said she felt hollow. I have given my life to this work, she said. I have uncovered things no human has seen for 4,000 years. I have reconstructed entire civilizations from fragments of clay. And now I look at my career and I think, so what? They are still dead. I am still here. What was it all for? The teacher asked, what were you searching for? Dr. Chen was quiet for a long time. Then she said, I thought I was searching for the truth about the past. But I think I was searching for myself. I think I believed that if I could uncover enough history, I would finally understand who I am. And did you? No. I just became an expert at uncovering. The teacher said, you have spent 30 years excavating ruins. Now you must excavate the excavator. You have studied the artifacts of dead civilizations. Now you must study the artifact of your own self. Who is Dr. Chen? Not her achievements. Not her reputation. Not her history. Who is she, right now, without any of the things she has uncovered? Dr. Chen did not answer. She did not have an answer. She began sitting each morning. Not excavating. Not analyzing. Just sitting with the question, who is this one, right now? She wrote to the teacher 6 months later. She said she had not found an answer. But the question had stopped feeling like a wound. It had become a kind of opening. She said, I thought I was digging for truth. Now I realized the digging was the avoidance. I was so focused on what was beneath me that I never looked at who was doing the looking. You have layers. Not geological layers. Not archaeological layers. Psychological layers. Stories you have told yourself so many times they have hardened into identity. I am the kind of person who fails at relationships. I am the kind of person who never has enough. I am the kind of person who must earn my belonging. I am the kind of person who is fundamentally broken. These are not truths. These are narratives. They were written by a younger version of you, in response to specific conditions, specific wounds, specific interpretations of events that you may not even remember accurately. The younger version did the best they could. They built a story that made sense of chaos. They constructed a self that could survive the circumstances. But you are not that younger version anymore. The story does not need to be destroyed. It does not need to be replaced with a more positive story. It only needs to be recognized as a story. A useful fiction. A survival strategy that has outlived its necessity. Wisdom is not finding the true story about yourself. Wisdom is recognizing that every story is partial. Every narrative is a selection. Every identity is a costume you forgot you were wearing. There is a story of a man who spent his life building a mask. He was not a mask maker by profession. He was a carpenter. But in his evenings, he carved. He started with wood, then clay, then bronze. He studied his own face in the mirror and tried to replicate it perfectly. The shape of the jaw. The curve of the nose. The distance between the eyes. He worked on this mask for 40 years. When it was finished, he held it in his hands. It was flawless. No one could distinguish it from his actual face. He was proud. Then he looked in the mirror again. He realized he no longer knew which face was the original. He had spent so long constructing the mask that he had forgotten what lay beneath. He searched his memory for the face he was born with. He could not find it. This is the condition of the unexamined life. You have been wearing your story for so long that you believe the story is you. You have forgotten the living, breathing, ever-changing awareness that has been here since before the story began. That awareness has no name. No history. No accomplishments. No failures. It has no face. And it has never needed one. The elephant hunter has followed the footprints through the dense forest. He has seen the scratch marks. He has found the broken branches. He has sat through the night, listening to the unfamiliar sounds, feeling the dampness of the forest floor. He has stopped looking ahead. He has stopped looking behind. He is simply standing in the clearing, breathing, waiting without waiting. And then he realizes, the elephant is not coming. The elephant is not an object to be found. The elephant is not a destination to be reached. The elephant is the ground beneath his feet, the air in his lungs, the awareness that has been present for every single step of the journey. He has been walking on the elephant for miles. He just never looked down. We have met Dr. Chen, who excavated the world to avoid excavating herself. We have seen the man who forgot his face beneath the mask. We have touched the edge of wisdom. Not as knowledge, but as unlearning. You do not need to find yourself. You only need to stop losing yourself in stories that were never the whole truth. The self you have been searching for is not hidden. It is not buried beneath layers of history and trauma and conditioning. It is not at the end of the path, waiting to be discovered. It is here, reading these words. It has always been here. It never left. Before we speak of the mirror, rest. Feel the weight of your body. Feel the stillness of the air. You do not need to achieve anything in this moment. You do not need to understand. You only need to be here. This is enough. There is a stage of the path rarely spoken of accurately. The jhanas. The word sounds exotic. Mystical. We project onto it our hunger for the extraordinary. But the Buddha was not describing magic. He was describing what happens when a mind, exhausted by its own grasping, finally settles. Not settles into bliss. Not settles into emptiness. Just settles. The first jhana is like water that has been stirred becoming still. There is still thought, still effort. But the mind is no longer thrashing outward. The second jhana is the stirring stopping. The sediment settles. Thought subsides. Effort relaxes. The third jhana is the cooling of the flame. Grasping for pleasant experience fades. What remains is contentment, not excitement, just the quiet sufficiency of being alive. The fourth jhana is the absence of need. Neither pleasure nor pain. Neither seeking nor avoiding. The mind is like a perfect mirror. It reflects whatever appears without being altered by the reflection. These are not achievements. They are not enlightenment. They are footprints. And the Buddha was very clear, do not mistake the footprint for the elephant. I knew a woman named Maya. Maya attended a 10-day silent retreat. On the 6th day, she experienced something she could only describe as light. She wept. She felt she had touched something sacred. She spent the next 4 years trying to get back to that light. She returned to the same retreat center. She sat longer hours. She read every book about the jhanas. The light did not return. Maya came to a teacher I know. She was desperate. She was convinced her inability to re-enter that state was spiritual failure. The teacher said, "You are trying to step into the same river twice." The experience was real. It was also conditioned. It arose because of specific causes. Those causes have passed. You are chasing a ghost. Maya said, but it was the most real thing I've ever felt. The teacher said, the most real thing you have ever felt is still a feeling. Feelings arise. Feelings pass. The awareness that knew that feeling has never left you. You are searching for the reflection when you could be looking at the mirror itself. Maya was silent. She continued sitting. Not chasing. Not striving. The light did not return. But something else emerged. She stopped needing it to return. Spiritual experiences are seductive. They offer proof that the path is real. They offer evidence that you are making progress, that you are special. They are also traps. Every experience is impermanent. It arises. It passes. If you identify with the experience, I am enlightened, I have seen the truth, you are building a new identity out of transient phenomena. That identity will crumble when the experience fades. Then you will spend years trying to rebuild it. The Buddha did not teach the jhanas as achievements. He taught them as tools. A polished mirror is not valuable because of its polish. It is valuable because it reflects accurately. The goal is not to have beautiful experiences. The goal is to see clearly. I knew a man named James. James was a carpenter. His wife had died 6 months earlier. He came to a teacher I know, not seeking enlightenment, just seeking relief from drowning. He said, I don't understand meditation. I don't understand any of this. I just know wood. The teacher said, then teach me about wood. James said, the most important tool I own is not the saw or the chisel. It is the level. I can cut perfectly. I can join perfectly. But if the surface is not level, nothing else matters. The level tells me the truth about the ground I'm building on. It doesn't fix anything. It just shows me what is true. The teacher said, meditation is a level. It does not remove the slope. It does not flatten the floor. It just shows you, moment by moment, exactly where you are standing. That is enough. James began sitting each morning. Not seeking bliss. Not seeking enlightenment. Just checking the level. He said it did not remove his grief. But it stopped him from building on slanted ground. The mirror reflects a face. The face departs. The mirror does not mourn. The mirror reflects sunlight. The light shifts. The mirror does not chase it. The mirror reflects darkness. The room dims. The mirror does not panic. The mirror's nature is to reflect. It does not prefer any reflection over another. It does not store reflections. It receives what appears, fully, and releases it completely. This is the mind trained in concentration. Free from the compulsion to grasp at some reflections and reject others. Free to reflect whatever arises. Free to let it pass. The elephant hunter has stopped running. He has stopped searching. He sits at the base of a tree, not waiting, not striving, just breathing. The footprints are still there. He knows there is more walking to do. But for this moment, he rests. And in the resting, he notices something he missed while he was moving. The forest is not silent. It is full of sound. The rustle of leaves. The call of birds. He has been so focused on the elephant that he never heard the forest. He listens now. This is the fourth footprint. A brief pause. We have met Maya, who chased the light and caught only disappointment. We have met James, who found his teacher in a carpenter's level. You do not need extraordinary experiences. You do not need altered states. You only need to check the level. Moment by moment. Seeing what is true, without requiring it to be other than what it is. The mirror does not need to be beautiful. It only needs to be clean enough to reflect. This is the final clearing. Not because the path ends. The walking continues. But we have followed the footprints through the dense forest. Now we arrive where the hunter stops looking for the elephant. Not because he found it. Because he became it. I knew a man named Thomas. Thomas was an architect. He designed beautiful buildings. He visited the construction sites. He walked through the completed rooms. Then he left and returned to his own ordinary house. He came to a teacher. He said, I create homes for others. But I don't know how to inhabit my own life. The teacher said, you treat your life as a client. You design it carefully. You revise it constantly. But you never move in. When will you stop drafting and start dwelling? Thomas began practicing something he called moving in. Not waiting for the improved self. Not waiting for the enlightened self. Just inhabiting the ordinary rooms of his ordinary life. He said it felt like coming home after a very long journey. The house had always been his. He just never accepted the keys. I knew a woman named Grace. Grace had spent her entire life waiting. School. Marriage. Children. Retirement. 73 years of waiting for a future that never arrived. She came to a teacher. She said, "I don't know what I was waiting for. I just know I never arrived." The teacher asked, "Who would you be if you stopped waiting?" Grace said, "I've never met that person." The teacher said, "You have met her. In the brief gaps between waiting. When you forgot the clock. When you watched the sunset without calculating the minutes. She was there. You just didn't recognize her because she wasn't waiting for anything." Grace began practicing noticing. Not achieving. Not becoming. Just noticing the gaps when waiting was absent. She said it was like discovering she had been breathing her whole life without realizing air existed. The hunter stands in the clearing. The sun is overhead. There are no shadows. And there, at the center, is the elephant. It is not performing. Not displaying. Just standing, breathing, being what it has always been. The hunter approaches. He does not feel triumphant. He feels recognized. The elephant has been here the entire time. The hunter believed it was an object to locate. But the elephant was never lost. The hunter was lost. The forest was his own mind. The elephant was his own nature, waiting patiently for the seeking to exhaust itself. You have followed the footprints. But you have not arrived anywhere new. You are exactly where you started. The near shore. The far shore. The river. The forest. They were never separate places. They were ways of seeing the same ground. The map is complete. Not because it contains every detail. Because you no longer need it. You are already here. And here is enough. May you set down the raft. May you stop waiting for the self you are trying to become. May you recognize the self you have always been. May you discover, when you arrive home, that you never left. Thank you for walking with us at Monk's Temple. The elephant is standing still. The forest is breathing. You are here. This is enough.